How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Let's Automate It. On today's video, I'll be demonstrating how to use the SSH-Python library to connect to remote hosts such as Cisco routers, switches, and Linux host systems. For anyone familiar with SSH within Python, chances are you've probably heard of the Paramiko library. If you haven't, Paramiko is the leading SSH library used within Python. In this video, I'll be using what I feel to be a faster alternative to Paramiko, which is the SSH2-Python library. Rather than being a native Python library, it's actually a small wrapper around the libSSH2C library. The library can be used within Windows, Linux, and even OS X systems. To get started, first we'll need to install the SSH2-Python library. So go ahead and open up a command prompt or a shell, and then we'll be using pip to install the library. Since I've already installed the library, the requirements are already satisfied. Next, what you want to do is open up your IDE of choice. And now let's get coding. First, we'll need to import the socket library. This will provide a low-level networking interface for our script. Next, we'll need to import the session from SSH2 session. Okay, next we'll define our host username and password to the device we want to connect to. And you want to make sure that you're using strings for all this. Alright, now we'll need to define our socket that will be used for communication. Two arguments will be needed to do this. The domain argument, which specifies the communication domain, such as IPv4 or IPv6. So as you can see, we can either use the AF iNet or the iNet6, which is our IPv6. So what we'll be using here is just IPv4 for right now, and now we'll need to use our socket stream option. And for our second argument, we'll be using the type argument, which specifies the communication. In our case, we'll be using the socket_stream. This provides a sequenced two-way connection-based byte stream between our system and our remote device. Now that we have our socket defined, we'll need to use the socket to connect to our host system. With the connect option, what it's going to be looking for is actually a tuple. So be sure you put your host and your ports inside a additional parentheses as shown. Now that we have the socket endpoint created and established under the sock variable, we'll go ahead and initiate the session by creating a session variable. What we'll want to do is create a session variable and then assign the session class to that variable. Once the session is initialized, we can go ahead and start running through the three-way handshake and then assigning or authenticating your username and password. So to set up the three-way handshake, you want to type in session.handshake. Then you'll want to point to the sock variable that we created, and that will be our endpoint where the session will be connected to. And then we'll use the session.user auth, and as you can see here in the listing, there's several options. What we'll want to use for this case is going to be the user authentication with a password. And within there'll be two options. Username, as you can see there, it'll be a username and a password. So we'll just point to those username and password variables that we've created earlier. Now that the connection is established, next we'll need to open up a new channel session. So what we'll do is go ahead and assign another variable, and we'll call that channel, and then we'll assign the session.open session to that channel variable. Alright, next, this is where we'll go ahead and start executing our commands that we want to run. So we'll go ahead and type in channel and then execute, and then within there you'll want to use a string. We'll go ahead and type in the command show run, and next we'll want to create the size and data on the output for the channel read standard output. So go ahead and type in size and then data, and then that will equal channel dot read for the standard output. And since we're not sure what the size will be on the show run command, we'll need to input a while loop, and then we'll use the size less than 0. So we'll run through the printout until the size is less than 0. So we'll need to type in print, and then here we'll want to type in our data. And since the output will show our character returns and new lines with the \r/n, what we want to do is type in decode to just give us a cleaner output. And next, go ahead and read the standard output to see if there's any data, and then it'll just keep looping through that until everything is outputted to our screen. Alright, once that command's finished, what we'll do next is close out our channel by typing in channel.close, and then we'll go ahead and then print out our exit code. Alright, now that the code's finished, let's go ahead and test it out. Alright, as you can see, it did print out the show running configuration on my Cisco switch, and it did prompt me with the exit status of 0. Alright, next let's use this code here, and we're going to test out the IPv6 piece of it. So everything is pretty much the same, with the exception of calling out for the IP or the INET 6, and then of course we'll need to change my standard version 4 IP to a IPv6. So this host system is actually a CentOS system that I have running under VirtualBox. So we need to go ahead and update our username and password, and then we'll probably want to change that command since that will be an invalid command. So we'll type in uname-r, and that should give me the output of the kernel version that's being ran on that CentOS image. So it looks like after rebooting the CentOS image earlier, that local link address actually ended up changing. So I went ahead and updated the script. So let's give that another try. So as you can see, I did get a response back from the CentOS system with the version of the kernel that I'm using on that VM. If you want to learn more about the SSH2-Python library, I provide links to the Parallel SSH website, the GitHub repository, and also their documentation page. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you want to subscribe to see more videos like this, go ahead and click subscribe now, and thank you for watching.